Hey guys, you get a face video again. I asked you guys for questions. I want to do a meet the teacher video, and so that is what I'm doing today. We'll see how long I can keep my hair down. It's hot. It's also raining, so it's really cool outside, but it runs like 10 degrees hotter in our house than it does outside, so we'll see. The hair might have to go up. But yeah, I decided this would be a good time of year to do a meet the teacher video and share a little bit about myself. Here's my teacher cart behind me. It's messy, please don't judge me. I haven't cleaned it yet this week. So, all right, so I asked you guys to ask me questions and I got a lot of good questions. I'm just gonna start though with kind of introducing myself, who I am, and how and why I got to YouTube and to homeschooling. So if you don't know, my name is Kara. I am married and I have 2 kids. My daughter is 12 and my son is 9. We're entering into 7th grade and 4th grade this upcoming school year. We have been homeschooling for this will be our 6th year homeschooling. And actually that was one of the questions, is kind of like, what is our history with homeschooling? How long have we done it? Have we always been homeschooled, etc.? So my husband and I are both products of public school education. And my daughter, who is 12, started in our public school district here. Actually, the reason we bought our house in the town that we did was because it's like one of the top rated school districts. And when we got married, we knew that we wanted to have kids, and so that seemed like a great thing to do. So my daughter did kindergarten and 1st grade in our local public school system. And one, I didn't love it, and I'll tell you a little bit of why in a minute. But also 2, I liked educating her at home. I'd always done learning at home. We did preschool at home. I always watched homeschool videos because it's something I loved. I would never want to be a classroom teacher, but I loved working one-on-one with my kids in that way. I have a master's in library and information science, and I worked in public libraries for almost 18 years, I think. Yeah, something like that, okay, yeah. Let's see, you can do the math. How about this? I started working in libraries in 2001 when I started library school. And when did I leave the library? At the end of 2018. So that's like 17 years. Close enough. I worked always in public libraries and I worked in the children's department. But I would also work at like the public service desk. And so help with reference questions. I did story times. I did outreach to Amish schools and public schools, the health department. I was the head of the children's department. I basically worked with children ages 0 to 18, their parents, their caregivers, teachers, etc. I have some Diet Coke. I have a strong background in early literacy. I served on national committees, all of that. And in 2018, my daughter was in 1st grade, or it started 1st grade, halfway through 2018, and I really wanted to homeschool her for a couple of reasons. And my son at that point was only 3, and so I decided to leave my job at the library and come home. Now, in order to do that, I had to kind of make up, my income was quite a bit of our income. So I decided to start my own business so that I could be at home. So I started a children's consignment sale business, and I thought, well, it's like a pop-up sale. Think like Rialanas or JBF, things like that. It was like that, except it was my own. And I thought that was something that I could do for work, but would also still allow me to homeschool. So fast forward to now, I found it very difficult to do both of those things and to do them well. So I closed my consignment sale business, and now I am like full-time homeschooling, because I feel like in order for me to do it well, I need to be putting the majority of my focus and time and effort on that. Hats off to those of you who can work full-time or even part-time and do a good job of homeschooling your kids, because it wasn't something that I felt that I could balance and do both well. And it was not worth it to me to do both of them kind of half-assed. So at any rate, I feel like I'm doing a much better job homeschooling now that that's where most of my focus can be. So my daughter came home for second grade. We started homeschooling her for second grade. My son has always been homeschooled. We had actually planned to send him to public school for just kindergarten. I wanted both my kids to have kind of like a base of comparison, homeschool versus public school. But when he was supposed to start kindergarten is when we were kind of in the middle of a pandemic, and that was not what I wanted his kindergarten experience to be. So he's just always been homeschooled. So the reason I didn't love public school, even though we are in a top-rated district, they're top-rated because they score well on standardized tests, and that's what they teach to. And I don't know, there was a lot I didn't like about our specific school, and then things I didn't like about just public school in general. One was my kid was gone for a very long chunk of time. She had to get up earlier than her body was ready to wake up in the morning, which was tough. And she was gone for 6 or 7 hours. I feel like there was always some kind of spirit week where I needed to go to the store and buy a red shirt or an orange shirt or a sports jersey or a crazy hat or whatever. Those drove me crazy. I'm sure they were fun, but they drove me crazy. But also I found that I didn't think her needs were being met. And I think her teacher was great, but in a classroom of 25 students, if you're lucky, only 25 students, she couldn't get the individualized education that I wanted for her, essentially. And I don't expect her to get an individualized education. So it's not, I'm not saying anything bad about, public schools. But anyway, so that was a concern for me. So she was a strong reader, has always read, she learned to read before she went to school. And it was a concern I brought to her teacher that I wanted to make sure when she started, both in kindergarten and first grade, but when she started first grade, she was already reading in a second grade level. And so I didn't want her to stay stagnant the whole year. I wanted her reading skills to continue to grow, and they were not. So I had to take that back over at home if I wanted to see her continue to grow in her reading. I didn't want her to she's already at an okay level, so let's just leave her be. I wanted her to continue to be challenged. So that wasn't happening. And then second, she was really struggling with math. And I asked for more help from the school. I asked if she could get into I don't know what it's called, but you know how they have what's the reading one? For kids who struggle with reading, there's a special program. There's one for math too. But basically they told me she's not struggling enough for that. So I was left with just the option of letting her continue to struggle, supplementing at home. And at that point I thought, if I have to do all of this supplementation at home, this kid has no time. She's in school all day, and then she comes home and she has homework to do for school, which was at least an hour. And then I have all this supplementation to do as well. So I didn't like it. And also she was constantly getting in trouble for talking, socializing. They have these things called quiet cubes, and you started the day with 3 of them, and then as you got in trouble you lost them. And then we get these logs home every week to hear how their week went. I dreaded those. I dreaded getting that folder home and opening it up to see Ava lost all her quiet cubes this week. So we decided to homeschool. And that's what we've been doing ever since. We had decided at that point that we were just going to take it year by year. One of the other questions I had was, do we plan to continue homeschooling? Do we ever plan to send our kids back to public school? In the beginning, I would have told you we're going to take it year by year. And while we are somewhat still doing that, not really. I mean, my plan right now is to continue through high school. Will we? I don't know. But that's where I'm thinking that we will land with it. Another question I had was related to homeschool in high school. What are my thoughts? Am I excited? Am I nervous? Both. I'm nervous. I'm not excited. I'm nervous about it. I think we'll survive it just fine, but I am definitely nervous. Another question was, what am I doing now to prepare for high school? And I would say one thing I'm doing is just trying to already now be researching and coming up with ideas of curriculum we might use, trying to map things out so that we don't get to high school and then realize like, oh, we're doing this level of science and we should have had this other level first, or things like that. So I do have a plan kind of mapped out for middle school and high school of what I think we'll do when. I don't know if we'll stick to that or now, but that's one thing that I'm trying to do to prepare. I'm also trying to work on independence with my 12-year-old, independence in doing her schoolwork. That's been a little bit more of a struggle because she has ADHD, but we're working on that. We're also working on kind of study skills and note-taking, things like that I think will be important when she gets to high school. So do I think we've have adequate social opportunities for our kids? So this is a tough one for me because I'm not a super social person and my husband is definitely not a social person. My daughter is so social and my son is kind of somewhere in the middle. So there is a homeschool co-op that we found that kind of fits the type of homeschoolers that we are. They have like a regular, it's kind of like, I would say more of an extracurricular type co-op with the classes they offer, like chess and photography and like things like that. It's less of like academic and more of like those, not extracurricular, elective types of things. We don't join that one. It is quite a distance from us, but they also have a field trip one as well. And we are a member of that. And we do some with it. There are lots of kids her age though. So if we could go consistently, that would be a good outlet for socialization with her. But a lot of the kids in our neighborhood they're all public schooled. And so I feel like the kids around us that are my daughter's age tend to be more mature. Not that she's immature, but they're just interested in more mature things than she is. And so it's not always a good fit. So they don't have a lot of opportunities just in our everyday like neighborhood and things like that, but they're constantly making friends when we go to the playground, and they really do enjoy being around other kids. But and they play sports and have friends there as well. But there is an outlet, we just have not utilized it fully, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Let's see. Advice I would give myself if I could redo my first year of homeschooling so much. I would do so much differently. First, I think I would research a bit better and not trust all the homeschool videos that I watched. I think I would test some things out a little bit more. I think that I guess like the main thing that I wish I had done then that I didn't, but that we're starting to work in now, I keep forgetting to look at the camera, sorry, is to keep in mind just a slow and steady, just keep going, just keep swimming, like don't give up so easily. And I guess I also wish that I had a better understanding of education when I started. I wish that I had been doing as much reading then as I do now. And I wish I had known a bit more about myself and what it takes for me to retain and organize information. I wish I knew that then. What else? I wish I had understood kind of differentiated instruction and differentiated learning a little bit more back then. And I guess the advice I would give to myself if I were starting over from scratch, knowing what I know now, is to go slow, not be so impulsive, and not jump at every shiny new thing. So, and I guess it kind of relates to tips for new homeschool families. And that is one of them, I guess, is really just kind of go slow. Don't buy everything you see on YouTube. And don't think that that next new curriculum is going to solve any problems you might be having. Instead, really kind of try to reflect and assess. And if something's not working, figure out what part of it isn't working, and work on yourself at the same time. Because sometimes the biggest roadblock in our way when we're homeschooling our kids is ourselves. So, let's see. How did I know homeschooling was the right decision? I didn't, and I still don't always know. There are days where I think I'm not doing a good job and I'm not doing this right, and maybe my kids would be better off in school. But really, I know that that's not true. I feel like for my kids to get the individualized instruction that I want them to have and to get their individual needs met, homeschooling is the right decision. And like I said, we live in a top-rated school district, so it's an even bigger question for myself all the time, like, and for everyone else, honestly, why are you doing this when you live in this amazing school district? Like, why would you homeschool? What do you have to offer your kids? They're missing out on all these amazing opportunities. And that is true. There are probably a ton of amazing opportunities within the school system, but I feel good about what we're doing at home. Even on the days where I feel like I'm failing, I still know that if I work on myself and my knowledge and how to teach and how to understand my kids, that I can give them a better education. And if I can't, I know that I have the ability to find what they need, even if I can't give them what they need. So, what book do I think everybody should read? Well, I don't know. I can tell you what book I think every homeschooler should read. How about that? And that is, what's it called? How to Homeschool the Child You Have. Is that the kitchen table homeschool one? I'll link it because I talked about it in a video, but that's a book I wish I had read before I started homeschooling. So I guess that would be my answer. How was our first year? Our first year of homeschooling, it was fun, but it was also stressful because I didn't know what I was doing. And I feel like I didn't do enough research, and I tried to do too much. I tried to do everything. And so it was a little overwhelming for me. I think my daughter probably had an okay time for the most part. Math was really rough for her because I didn't know how to teach it. I feel like I am in a much better place now, but let's see. I think that was all the questions that I had. So that's me. What do I like to do in my free time? I don't have a ton of free time. I like to read. I like to research homeschool and teaching my kids because that's an interest of mine. So I like watching videos about things that work for other people. I love reading books. I like going to used bookstores. I like buying books. I like thrifting. I like going to antique stores. I love doing genealogy. I have done family history research for probably the last 20 plus years. Also, how old am I? I'm old. I had my kids older. I always have to do math in my head. I'm 47. I turned 47 this year. And my husband is 50. What else can I tell you about myself? I feel like that's about it. So if you have any other questions that I didn't answer, let me know down below. I'm sorry if this video was boring. I'm also sorry that I look hot and sweaty because it's hot and I'm sweaty. So anyway, ask me any questions you have down below. I would love to answer them.